Advaita Radha Shiva Pade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Pade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna. Jaya Vrindavan. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna. Jaya Vrindavan. Shri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohan. Shri Govinda Radha Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan, Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan. You really need probably need songbooks or something like that. It's a long song. Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahava. Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahava. Keshigata Amsivata Dvajashakana Keshigata Vamsivata Dvajashakana Jahasabha Lila Koilo Srinandan Nandan Srinandaya Surajaya Jaya Gopaga Srinandaya Surajaya Jaya Gopaga Shri Ramade Jaya Jaya Dinavatsaka Jaya Vishavanu Jaya Kirtida Sundari Jaya Puranamasi Jaya Abhiranagari Jaya Puranamasi Jaya Abhiranagari Jaya Jaya Gopishwara Vrindavanama Jaya Jaya Gopishwara Vrindavanama Jaya Jaya Krishna Sakha Bhakti Jaya
Jaya Jaya Krishna Sakha Bhakti Jaya
Jaya Rama Datta Jaya Mohini Nanda
Jaya Rama Datta Jaya Rohini Nanda
Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Vasi Jatta
Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Vasijata
Jaya Jija Patni Jaya Naga Kanyaka
Jaya Jija Patni Jaya Naga Kanyaga
Bhakti Te Jahara Pahe Lo Govinda Chara Shira Samantara Jaya Jaya Radha Sham Jai Jai Rasa Lila Sava Manoram Jaya Jaya Ujvala Rasa Sava Rasa Sar Bharatiya Bhavitaha Bhajate Pracham Shijanava Pada Padma Koriya Smaran Dina Krishna Dasha Kohe Nam Sankirtan Dina Krishna Dasha Kohe Nam Sankirtan Jai Radhe Jai Krishna Jai Vrindavan Shri Govinda Gopina Madana Mahan Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Kalindi Damuna Jai Jai Mahavan Kalindi Damuna Jai Jai Mahavan Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Well, I'd like to read the whole translation, but to translate that into Portuguese, I don't know if you were doing it this morning or not, it'll take a long time. We'll just read the translation to the second verse, which refers to Radha Kunda. All glories to Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Govardhan Hill, and the Yamuna River. All glories to the great forest known as Mahavan. For Krishna and Balaram displayed all of their childhood pastimes. So this is a song of Krishna Das, whichever Krishna Das it was. And in this song it's Nam Sankirtani. Nam Sankirtani is not just the chanting of Hare Krishna, but Nam Sankirtani is chanting the glories of Krishna's names, his form, his pastimes, places of pastimes, etc., his qualities. They're all personified and they all have an address or a name, you could say. The names of God are all given according to his particular qualities. To a certain extent, we name things in this world also sometimes according to their qualities. This again has its origin in Godhead, that he has unlimited qualities, therefore he has unlimited names. They might also refer to his form, his color, his pastimes, and so on. It's a way they are related to the Lord in his various, let's say, unlimited variety of personality. So today is one aspect here. There's two, at least two. What was it today? Is Radha Kunda, appearance of Radha Kunda, and Bahulashtami. Was it something else as well? Something else. Huh? Ramadan? Snandan. Yeah, well, that's related to Radha Kunda. Yeah. So, in India, in Vrindavan, which is the place where Krishna performs his pastimes, today is a very, for many anyway, today is a very big day, important day. And it represents Bahulashtami. It represents when Krishna started to take charge for the cows. Bahula is a cow. Bahulashtami, there's more to it. I don't know if that pastime of the Buhula cow, maybe that also took place on this day, I don't know. No translation for that verse or that line. We won't worry about that, we'll move on. So, but the most, you could say probably the most prominent, most talked about event at least, is the appearance of Radha Kunda. And if anyone's been to Vrindavan, even if you haven't been, you've probably heard of Radha Kunda. So we'll try to talk a few words about Radha Kunda this morning. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Apitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. So, amongst Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radha Kunda has a very most important significance. Today we see many pilgrims going to that place of Radha Kunda. Radha Kunda is the bathing place of Radharani. It's described by Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction as the most in all the universe is the most holy of holy places. He recommends one should bathe there 3 times daily, reside there on the banks of Radha Kunda, and so on and so forth. The most pure, the most dear place within the universe to the Lord and His consort Radharani. It's said that by bathing in Radha Kunda you develop love for Krishna. So why don't we all go off to Radha Kunda and forget everything else? Some people have that philosophy or that feeling. We'll talk more about that later. But let's just briefly touch on three points. One, the manifestation of Radha Kunda. How Radha Kunda appears in this, it's called Boma Vrindavan, earthly Vrindavan. This is one of the conditions, you could say, of Srimati Radharani coming into this world is she also, Govardhan Hill, Radha Kunda, Jamuna River, they would also appear along with her. But as far as historical or practical purposes, Radha Kunda has a time when Radha Kunda appears within this world. Although Radha Kunda is eternal. Mm-hmm. But in this world it appears to appear, and it appears not to appear, but it's always present, we just can't see it. So as of now, of course, Radha Kunda is, to whatever extent in reality appearing, but is visible to any eye who happens to go there.
Neste momento, o Radha Kunda está disponível aos olhos de qualquer pessoa que possa ler.
I don't know if you have a picture in this room of Radha Kunda, but you sometimes see. No, I don't think so. So, anyway, it goes back, of course, to Krishna's pastimes when he was in Vrindavan 5,000 or more years ago.
Portanto, os passatempos de Krishna em Vrindavan há 5.000 anos.
I will briefly mention it. Radha Kunda manifested after the killing of a demon named Aristanasana.
Radha Kunda manifestou-se após
Not Aristanasana, Aristasura.
após a morte de demónio
Aristanasana is one of our dear devotees at New Mayapur. It means the killer of Aristasura. So Aristasura means the bull demon.
Aristasura significa o demónio touro.
And so Krishna killed that demon.
E Krishna matou este demónio.
And then Radharani and the gopis became averse to associate with Krishna.
E Radharani e as gopis recitaram poema de acordo com Krishna.
You have become contaminated because you've killed a bull.
E disseram, tu ficarás contaminado porque mataste touro.
We don't want to associate with you anymore.
Não queremos associar contigo mais.
Not unless you purify yourself.
A não ser que te purifiques.
So how am I going to purify myself? Krishna says. How am I going to purify myself?
E Krishna disse, como é que eu me vou
You
purificar?
have to bathe in all the holy places, all the holy kunds of the universe.
E disseram, tens de banhar em todos os radhakundas, todos os rios do
And
mundo.
there's a lot of them, millions and millions of these holy
Milhões e
places.
milhões deles.
So Krishna decided he would do that.
E Krishna decidiu fazer isso.
And he called all the holy places of the universe right there, in his presence. He called them all.
E então Krishna chamou pela sua presença todos esses.
This bull demon was so powerful that his hoofs were making big holes in the ground.
Este demónio era tão poderoso que os seus cascos estavam a fazer grandes buracos no chão.
One of those hoof holes, Krishna called all the holy places in the universe and asked them to, at least the kunds, the lakes, to appear in this indentation, in this hoof print.
E Krishna chamou todos os rios sagrados para ficarem dentro de
And they all poured their waters into that large, very large hoof print.
Todos os rios e as águas sagradas foram para dentro
And then Krishna
desta pegada.
bathed in that water.
E então Krishna banhou-se nessa água.
Thus the gopis were a little doubtful, so Krishna called them all to personify so they could see actually they were all there, all the holy rivers, holy lakes of the universe, all manifested there before their eyes.
Então os gopis estavam pouco desconfiados e Krishna pediu para que todos esses rios e lagos se personificassem para esclarecer.
So Krishna said, now I'm purified.
Agora estou purificado, disse
But
Krishna.
what about you gopis? What have you done?
E vocês, gopis, o que é que vocês
You've
fizeram?
not done anything very special. I'm too pure to associate with you.
Nada de especial, somos puros para se associar contigo.
So Radharani and the gopis, they decided they'd also make a lake, pure lake.
Então Radharani e os gopis também decidiram então fazer também um lago.
So all of them, billions of them actually, they all took their, what do they call it, from their ankle, bangle, or whatever, anklet, and they broke them and used them like little diggers, you know, and they all worked together to dig a big hole in the ground.
Então assim todas as gopis se juntaram e com as pulseiras de
And then,
selo começaram a escavar um buraco no chão.
so they also had a big hole, but then there's no water.
Então depois também tinham um grande buraco, mas depois não tinham água.
So Krishna said, if you want, I can break a hole, a gully between my lake, Radha Krishna, Shamakund, and the big hole that you've dug, and the water can go into your lake if you want.
E Krishna disse, então se vocês quiserem, eu
Aqui, ó.
posso fazer
He said, no.
os dois lados e o
Your
água do meu
water is contaminated. You will bathe in that water, we will make our own lake.
E as gopis disseram, não. Essa tua água está contaminada, tu tomaste banho nela.
So billions of gopis were going with pots all the way. It's quite a distance, it's probably 5 kilometers or something, all the way to Manasi Ganga, the big lake in the center of Govardhan.
Então assim as gopis decidiram ir até Manasi Ganga.
And they were bringing these pots back one by one, back to the big hole which had been formed, and trying to fill the hole with the water of Manasi. Manasi Ganga is the pure water.
Então elas foram com pote a pote, fazendo esta distância e buscar.
Understood it's none different than River Ganges itself.
Buscar a água para meter no seu buraco.
So they were bringing this water back and filling up the lake was gradually filling. But it was a very arduous job, and they're getting very tired. Eventually, they agreed with Krishna, and they allowed the waters to come through from Krishna, Shamakund into Radha Kunda. So it said, on this day is the day when that event takes place, when the waters flow from Shamakund into Radha Kunda. And then Radharani bathed in that water, which is then considered to be the most holy water in the universe. There is a difference of opinion on this event, and many Vaishnavas presenting various Shastric evidence prove that it was not on this day actually that Radha Kunda appeared.
Há muitos eruditos que, segundo as escrituras, dizem que na final não foi neste dia que Radha Kunda apareceu.
So we have, they cite the different historical dates when Aristasura was killed and various things. Either way, we have 2 dates for the appearance of Radha Kunda.
Conseguiram perceber que havia outro dia em que este demónio teria sido morto, por isso, neste momento,
but generally,
2 dias para celebrar o aparecimento de Radha.
But generally speaking, at least from the calendar point of view, today is the day which is honored the most, at least.
Pelo menos de acordo com o calendário, este é o dia em que ele é honrado.
That's funny saying, huh? The most, at least, that's not a proper English, but anyway, you get what we mean. And over the course of time, thousands of years passed, Radha Kunda and Shamakunda again became unmanifested. No one could see them.
E depois, com o passar do tempo, tanto Shamakunda como Radha Kunda voltaram a ficar manifestos.
As did many of the pastime places of Krishna, became lost. Nobody knew where they were.
Isto também, como muitos dos locais de passatempos de Krishna desapareceram, ninguém sabia onde eles eram.
And round about, a little over, of course, 500 years ago, when Krishna again appeared as Lord Chaitanya,
À volta de 500 anos atrás, quando Krishna voltou a aparecer como
one of his purposes, only one of them, was to uncover the hidden places of Krishna's pastimes.
Dos seus discípulos descobriu os locais de passatempos de Krishna.
And in this regard, he sent many devotees to Vrindavan to work on this.
E assim ele mandou muitos dos seus devotos para Vrindavan trabalhar nestes locais.
And first ones to go, Bhugarbha Goswami, Lokanath Goswami, and others, they went first.
E os Goswamis foram primeiro.
And later Lord Chaitanya sent Rupa Goswami and Sanatan and the other Goswamis also.
Depois mandou Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami e outros.
And they were going around the forests of Vrindavan, the 12 major forests, calling out the various names of Krishna's pastimes.
Eles iam caminhando pelas várias florestas de Vrindavan e recitando os nomes de...
As we've just sung some of them. Vamsivat, Radha Kunda, we just sang in that song just now.
E eles iam recitando os nomes destes florestas, destes locais, como estivemos a falar, a recitar agora também.
And in many cases, these holy places being called purely by their devotees would appear.
Estes locais, quando são chamados puramente por devotos, eles aparecem.
But Radha Kunda and Shyamakund were not appearing.
Mas Radha Kunda e Shyamakunda não estavam a aparecer.
So when Lord Chaitanya, then he himself came to Vrindavan.
E então, Lord Chaitanya foi ele mesmo a Vrindavan.
And he was determined to find out the locale of Radha Kunda and Shyamakund.
Estava determinado a encontrar o local de Shyamakunda e Radha Kunda.
Of course, he knew they were on the foot of Govardhan.
Eu sabia que estava ali perto do Govardhan.
Oh, the head, whichever way you look at it, but he knew they were next to Govardhan Hill. So he was at Govardhan Hill and he was asking many people, where is Radha Kunda and Shyamakund?
Ele estava no Govardhan e perguntava a muitas pessoas onde é Shyamakunda, onde é Radha Kunda.
But nobody could answer him.
Mas ninguém conseguia responder.
Nobody knows. They've disappeared and we don't know where they are.
Ninguém sabia, desapareceram, ninguém sabia onde eles estavam.
When Lord Chaitanya was going around Govardhan, he came to one, a few rumors were there, he came to one paddy field, rice field.
Então, quando Lord Chaitanya estava a caminhar em Govardhan, ele passou pelo campo de arroz.
He saw two little ponds inside the paddy.
E viu dois pequenos lagos dentro deste campo.
Lord Chaitanya went there and took his bath in those ponds.
E Lord Chaitanya foi lá e tomou banho destes pequenos
and
lagos.
feeling the divine in presence of Srimati Radharani, he declared that this is Radha Kunda.
E ao banhar-se, sentiu a presença de Radharani e declarou isto é Radha Kunda.
Next to that was a small pond, Shyamakund. He declared that as Shyamakund. As Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of Radharani and he had the complexion of Radharani, although inside he's Krishna, but he had Radharani's mood and complexion, so he's both Radha and Krishna.
Então, Lord Chaitanya tem a complexão e o humor de Radharani.
So they're just two little small ponds. And then what to do? They declared, at least the Gaudiya Vaishnavas then accepted those two ponds as the manifestation of Radha Kunda and Shyamakund.
Pelo menos os Gaudiya Vaishnavas aceitaram estes pequenos lagos como Radha Kunda e Shyamakunda.
And it's Radha and Krishna themselves, you could say, in the form of Lord Chaitanya, who rediscovered or revealed the actual Radha Kunda and Shyamakund.
Foi Radharani e Krishna manifestos como Lord Chaitanya que descobriram estes dois lagos.
So devotees, some great devotees would be residing, would go there, take bath, or reside there on the bank of those little ponds.
Então os devotos vão e residem ou banham-se nestes
But
pequenos lagos.
it wasn't so easy, you could say, very small and not easy to enter into.
Mas eram muito pequenos, eram fáceis de entrar.
Anyway, one time there was one Seth, I think his name was Seth, a businessman, a rich man.
Uma vez homem de negócios, homem rico.
And he went to give charity in Badarik Ashram in the Himalayas.
Uma vez foi dar caridade a santo dos Himalayas.
So when in the Himalayas, in Badarik Ashram, another holy place high up in the mountains.
Então foi este sítio sagrado lá no alto das montanhas.
And whilst he was there, he had a vision instructing him to not give welfare or charity there, but to go down to Vrindavan.
Então quando lá chegou, ele teve uma visão para não dar caridade ali, mas sim voltar para Vrindavan.
There he'll find one sadhu named Raghunath.
E lá encontrarás homem santo chamado Raghunath.
And he should give the welfare, the wealth to Raghunath.
E deves dar essa caridade a este.
Now Raghunath was very much the personification of renunciation.
Raghunath era a personificação da renúncia.
He was barely sleeping.
Ele mal dormia.
He wasn't eating.
Mal dormia.
He was not eating, only a little palmful of buttermilk every few days.
Só punhado de leite cada alguns dias.
He had no material possessions.
Não tinha qualquer posse material.
He would just chant the glories of Krishna morning to night practically.
Só cantava as glórias de Krishna.
Even during the night. He was going around the Govardhan hill, circumambulating.
Mesmo durante a noite ele caminhava à volta de.
And going around these two little ponds also.
E também estes pequenos lagos.
And he wanted nothing. He was completely absorbed in pure love of God.
Ele não queria nada, estava completamente absorto no amor por Deus.
So this merchant set came to him and explained what happened and wanted to offer him this wealth.
Foi até ele e disse que queria oferecer esta caridade.
But Raghunath was not really, was not his agenda. He actually was from a very wealthy family. He'd already given all of that up, and now someone's coming and giving him wealth. What is this?
Raghunath estava assim um pouco perplexo. Ele pertencia a uma família rica, mas já tinha renunciado tudo isto.
But Raghunath had been thinking, well, it would be nice to, renovate these kunds and make it nice so that pilgrims could come here nicely and bathe here and so on.
Mas ele pensou, seria bom renovar estes lagos e assim os peregrinos podiam vir aqui.
So he thought about that, and sure enough, he was internally inspired to accept this wealth and utilize it for the construction of two kunds, two nice bathing places.
Ele decidiu aceitar esta caridade e criar dois locais para se banharem neste Radha Kunda.
So that's what happened. So he did that and engaged many people in building or digging these kunds out nicely and making nice steps down to the water and so on.
Ele empenhou muitas pessoas neste serviço de criar degraus para ir até à água, de ampliar o tamanho dos lagos.
This is another aspect of Raghunath Das's close relationship with Radha Kunda and Shama Kunda.
Este é outro aspecto da relação de Raghunath com Radha Kunda e Shama Kunda.
Oh, of course, regularly, Radha Kunda and Shama Kunda are, you could say, regularly, some from time to time excavated, cleaned out and refilled, but this was the one of the special contributions of Raghunath Das.
Mas mesmo sendo que tempo para tempo, Radha Kunda e Shama Kunda são escavados e posta água novamente. Este foi um dos aspectos que aconteceu.
So that today, pilgrims from all over the world actually, it's become world famous, go to that place, which is in Rajasthan, to take their bath or to worship there on the bank of Radha Kunda and Shama Kunda.
Hoje em dia, peregrinos de todo o mundo vão a este local para se banhar nestas águas.
Great Acharya Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a house there.
Grande Acharya Bhaktivinoda Thakur tinha uma casa lá.
Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj would also establish Brajmandal Parikrama regularly for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and he would also spend time there. There's not much reference to Srila Prabhupada spending time there at Radha Kunda or Shama Kunda, but he did spend some time. And Prabhupada actually received perhaps one of the most profound instruction from his spiritual master right there in Radha Kunda. It doesn't mean, we see paintings of Prabhupada walking around Radha Kunda with his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Prabhupada has his son with him. And it's usually related to this instruction of Bhaktisiddhanta. If ever you get money, print books. And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj goes on to say, if I could, I would tear down the marble on the temples and use it to print books.
Bhaktisiddhanta continuou dizendo: se eu pudesse, eu retirava todo o mármore destas paredes para imprimir livros.
But historically speaking, that did not take place on the bank of the river, of the Kund. It didn't take place.
Mas historicamente isto não aconteceu nas margens do rio.
It took place in the house, which was previously Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house, which Bhaktisiddhanta was staying in. It was in his room where this took place.
Então isto aconteceu sim na casa de Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
But it's in the area of Radha Kunda. It's in the narrow village, of course. It's in that village of Radha Kunda. And from there, even Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, when he would go to Radha Kunda, he would often go dressed very opulently. Although he was a sannyasi, he would often dress opulently to go to Radha Kunda.
Bhaktisiddhanta, mesmo apesar de ser um sannyasi, quando iria a Radha Kunda, ele vestia-se de uma forma muito opulenta.
And at least on one occasion, he drove into Radha Kunda, not into the lake, of course, but into the village. He drove in a very latest fashioned Western car.
E houve uma das vezes que ele entrou nesta vila onde está a Radha Kunda com o carro.
You wonder, what is this? Most of the residents at that time were going back more or less 100 years, a little less. They were horrified, they were shocked. What is this? This so-called sadhu coming into Radha Kunda, the holy place, dressed like this in a fancy car? This is nonsense.
Isto aconteceu há cerca de 100 anos atrás e os residentes estavam a pensar: isto é um disparate, porque vem aqui este sannyasi e com este carro tão opulento, com estas roupas tão esquisitas, isto não faz sentido algum.
So Bhaktisiddhanta was showing it's not an external place. Radha Kunda is an internal.
Bhaktisiddhanta estava a mostrar que Radha Kunda não é um local exterior, é um local interior.
Most of the residents there, they were known then as Babajis, who've given up the material world and are spending their whole time in bhajan. That's what they're supposed to be doing.
E muitos dos residentes são chamados babajis que...
And he said they're all imitators. In their heart of hearts, they're thinking of women and wealth and what have you. They're not really renunciates.
E eles supostamente serão estes babajis renunciados, mas exteriormente podem parecer, mas interiormente eles não são a pensar em...
Just by putting on a little piece of loin cloth, it's called a little piece of cloth, and living there at the same time, engaging in sense gratification.
Estão lá com pequenos trapos e mesmo assim, ao mesmo tempo, estão a desfrutar dos sentidos.
He declared this is not Radha Kunda, this is Naraka Kunda.
Ele declarou que isto não é Radha Kunda, isto é...
They're not living in, it was Radha Kunda, he said, they're not living in Radha Kunda, they're living in Naraka Kunda.
Ele disse que eles não estão a viver em Radha Kunda.
Naraka Kunda means hell, hell. Hell. Hellish planet. They don't have the eligibility to live in Radha Kunda. Even though they're physically here, they're not actually here. So for this, we can get the understanding that Radha Kunda is not just a geographical place. Now, if you have the nectar of instruction, do we have it here?
Yes.
Nectar of instruction in English.
In English.
Do you have one? Well, I can use also, I've got that too. I'll look it up here in the Veda base. There's some very wonderful, I can look on the Veda base. You don't need to look because I have it on the Veda base. Radha Kunda. Very important instructions. On Radha Kunda. I don't know why it's not coming up. Anyway, we'll go there. Whoops. Probably from verse 9 onwards. This is a literature written by Rupa Goswami, and this literature came out maybe in 1975.
Este livro é capaz de ter sido publicado em 1965.
And we were there in Vrindavan with Prabhupada, 1976. And now it was becoming very popular when devotees would go to India to go on parikrama. It means to go to various places around Vrindavan, holy places and so on. And I don't know what happened in previous years because I was not there. But in 76, most of the devotees, hundreds and hundreds of us, went to Radha Kunda. We just read, I mean, it came out in 75, but beginning of 76, this book, Nectar of Instruction, had been made available to all the devotees, and we were all reading it. It's a short book. It gives precise directives for Vaishnavas from beginning, you could say, of devotional practice up to the perfectional stage. And the perfectional stage was to reside in Radha Kunda. At least from the, you could say, the perception of a conditioned soul, maybe, of a devotee. That would be how it could be seen, a mixed devotee or something. Well, it is the goal, but in a mixed condition we may have a wrong conception of what it means. So, anyway, we were all very excited, so we all went off in buses. Prabhupada didn't come on that parikrama, but we all went on in buses out to Radha Kunda. Most of the devotees were from America. A lot of Australians and Europeans, and especially the Americans and the Australians, they have a strong inclination towards bathing and swimming and diving and you name it, water. Probably here in Portugal also, Portuguese people probably like the water. You have ocean here also. So as soon as we get there, we heard that you must bathe in Radha Kunda. So the devotees were jumping in, diving in, playing, doing flips, all sorts of things. In the most holy water in the universe, and they're treating it like a sport, some kind of sport. So when Prabhupada found out about this, he was disturbed by what he heard. And he said, no more bathing in Radha Kunda. Now this is taken by many as an absolute statement. And by others as a relative one. Relative means that in terms of, it was a time and circumstance, a mistake performed or by immature devotees. But then we hear many times great devotees, even Srila Prabhupada, I don't know of any record of him bathing there, they would recommend that one not bathe in Radha Kunda physically, but rather take 3 drops of water and sprinkle them on your head. So from then that became pretty much the majority and a standard of ISKCON devotees to respect Radha Kunda in that way. And it's not necessarily an absolute rule. However, another warning, which we will not talk about this morning, we'll talk about it this afternoon, if Krishna wills, about the real essence of what it means to bathe in Radha Kunda.
Depois outro aviso qual é que é a verdadeira essência de se banharmos Radha Kunda. Não falamos agora, mas falamos logo.
So on this day, particularly on this day, if you happen to be in Radha Kunda, on this day at night, it's a small town now, the small town of Radha Kunda is packed. There are tens of thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands, who descend upon Radha Kunda. And all eager to take baths. They generally understand that Radha Kunda appeared at midnight, which I suppose is what, 7 hours? How much? No, not 7, 5 hours difference between here and India, I don't know. Something like that, 5.5, something like that. So you could say more or less 6 o'clock in the evening. If you of our time, that would be like midnight in Vrindavan. And there will be the whole banks of Radha Kunda just packed with people. All these stone steps going down to the water. And everyone's eagerly awaiting, and there's kirtans going on and so many things, waiting for that moment, midnight. And then it's almost like inconceivable. It seems like the whole, it's just like boom, it seems like everyone just suddenly falls or just ends up in Radha Kunda. Thousands of people. And I've never heard of anyone, leaving their body in there or anything like that on that occasion anyway. It's like an avalanche. It's like, you hear these things when people are crushed, in various places. There's not avalanche, what do you call it? Stampede or something. Stampede, and then people get crushed. Yeah? Stampede. Stampede. Like people suddenly, some panic is there and everyone starts running and they all get crushed, Many people die sometimes. But it's like a stampede of sorts as all the devotees are trying to get quickly into the river, into Radha Kunda. ISKCON devotees go there, usually. At least some of them do. And they have kirtan all around Radha Kunda and Shamakund for hours before, and then find their spot on the banks of the lake. And I guess, I've done it a few times, but I guess the devotees still do, then they all immerse themselves in the holy waters of Radha Kunda. And then make their way back to Vrindavan town. And some of them get sick because it's usually quite cold. It's winter season beginning and it's night time, so it's usually quite cold. Because we're not really on that transcendental plane. So I'm going to read a little bit here from the Nectar of Instruction. These are some of the last verses. The holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha. Have you got it on your mobile or something? The transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. Superior to Mathura Puri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan because of Krishna's Rasa Lila pastimes. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes.
E a colina de Govardhan é superior à floresta de Vrindavan, pois a mão divina de Shri Krishna ergueu esta e surgiu o cenário de seus vários passatempos amorosos.
Just a little after now, because Govardhan Puja takes place in this month also, a few weeks' time. I'm just speaking, you won't find it there. I'm just saying that Govardhan Puja takes place in this month, so this is just an afternote from that comment. Govardhan Hill was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna. We always hear that Krishna raised Govardhan Hill with a little finger of his left hand. But I've never seen a Shastric reference to this. I've never seen a Shastric reference. Everywhere, from the Mahabharata, here in the Nectar of Instruction, to Srimad Bhagavatam, to so many Harivamsa Purana, so many Puranas say that he lifted it with the palm of his left hand. But somehow or other he lifted it with his little finger. Some say that he picked it up with his left hand and then transferred it to his little finger. Anyway, aside from that, Krishna can do anything he likes. And above all, carrying on with the translation here, and above all, the super excellent Sri Radha Kunda stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarian prema of the Lord of Gokula, Sri Krishna.
O super excelente Sri Radha Kunda ocupa a posição suprema, pois é inundado pelo prema nectário e ambrosial do Senhor Gokula, Sri Krishna.
So prema means, of course, in its real sense of the term, prema means the absolute highest form, Mahabhav, of love of Krishna.
Prema significa a forma mais elevada de amor por Krishna.
And the personification, the absolute, supremmost personification of this prema is in the form of Radharani.
E a personificação absoluta
and
personificada na forma de Radharani.
We'll hear about that now. Where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radha Kunda, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill?
Qual então será a pessoa inteligente que não estará disposta a servir a este divino Radha Kunda, situado ao pé da colina de Govardhan?
And we're going to jump forward in the purport here. Description. It also describes the discovery by Lord Chaitanya of Radha Kunda. Srila Rupa, I don't know if you're finding it, this is somewhere down the purport to that verse. It starts with Srila Rupa Goswami has given much stress to Radha Kunda. Srila Rupa Goswami has given much stress to Radha Kunda because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire to find it.
Srila Rupa Goswami deu muita importância ao Radha Kunda porque Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desejou intensamente encontrá-lo.
Who then would give up Radha Kunda and try to reside elsewhere?
Quem então abandonaria Radha Kunda para tentar morar em outra parte?
What are you doing living here in Lisbon?
O que estão vocês a fazer aqui a fazer morar em Lisboa?
No person.
Nenhuma pessoa.
I'm just waiting for the non-transcendental sound to pass by. No person with transcendental intelligence would do so. Now notice the word transcendental intelligence. Okay? The importance of Radha Kunda, however, cannot be realized by other Vaishnava Sampradayas, nor can persons uninterested in the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understand the spiritual importance and divine nature of Radha Kunda.
Entretanto, a importância de Radha Kunda não pode ser compreendida por outras sampradayas Vaishnavas. Tampouco podem pessoas sem interesse no serviço devocional ao Sr. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entender a importância espiritual e a natureza divina de Radha Kunda.
Because other Vaishnava Sampradayas, although they may be pure, they do not understand the depth of Radha and Krishna's loving reciprocation.
Apesar das outras sampradayas serem puras, não conseguem entender a profundidade desta relação entre Radha e Krishna.
not just a matter of understanding, it's even from the point of view of acceptance or philosophical understanding.
Não é só uma questão de compreensão, uma questão de aceitação
They
também.
cannot incorporate the Parakya Ras, for instance, between Radha and Krishna in their teachings.
Eles não incorporam nos seus ensinamentos.
And some don't even accept this as being a, let's say, an eternal principle.
Muitos nem aceitam como um princípio.
So their Radha Kunda is like, Radha Kunda, Shama Kunda. You could say in one sense it is the essence of this deep, topmost aspect of the loving relationship between Radha and Krishna, which is not, it's just not there in the other sampradayas practically.
Então, a Radha Kunda é como sendo todos o sítio mais...
They may accept Radha and Krishna
não está nas outras sampradayas esta
in
relação amorosa.
various ways, but not in the way that Gaudiya Vaishnavas do.
Está lá, mas não da forma como os Gaudiya Vaishnavas.
They're tinged with some kind of reverence, they're tinged with some kind of conditioning, etc.
Tem sempre algum tipo de reverência ou de condicionamento.
And we'll go further. Thus, Radha Kunda is mainly worshipped by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Assim, Radha Kunda é adorado principalmente pelos Gaudiya Vaishnavas, os seguidores do Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
And we'll go on to the next verses. Karami viparito hare priyataya vyaktim yayo ganinas tevyo jnana vimukta bhakti parama premaika nishtataha tevyastak pashu pala pankaja dishashta byopi savadika prashtatavadiyam tadiya sadasitang nashayat kakriti. In the Shastras, it is said that of all types of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of the higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari.
Os Shastras dizem que todas as classes de trabalhadores frutivos, aquele que é avançado em conhecimento dos valores superiores da vida é favorecido pelo Senhor Supremo Hari.
Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge may take to devotional service.
Dentre muitas tais pessoas avançadas em conhecimento, aquela que está praticamente liberada em virtude do seu conhecimento, talvez adote o serviço devocional.
He is superior to the others.
Esta é superior às outras.
However, one who has actually attained prema, love of Krishna, is superior to him.
Contudo, aquele que realmente alcançou prema, amor puro por Krishna, é superior àquele.
The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental cow and boy.
As gopis são mais elevadas que todos os devotos avançados porque sempre dependem totalmente de Sri Krishna, o verdadeiro carinho.
Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna.
Entre as gopis, a mais querida de Krishna é Srimati Radharani.
Her kund, or lake, is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as his most beloved gopi.
O seu kunda, ou lago, é tão profundamente querido para o Senhor Krishna quanto ela, Radharani.
Who then will not reside at Radha Kund?
Quem então não residiria no Radha Kunda?
Now note again, in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, aprakrita bhava, render loving service to the divine couple Shri Radha, Govinda, who perform their Astakaliya Leela, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes.
Com o corpo espiritual subcarregado por sentimentos devocionais estáticos, a Prakrita Bhava não prestaria serviço devocional ao casal divino Shri Radha Govinda, que realiza o seu Astakaliya Leela, seus 8 eternos passatempos diários.
Note a few points there, the spiritual body.
Alguns pontos como este do seu corpo espiritual.
And loving service, not just service.
E é serviço amoroso, não apenas serviço.
Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radha Kund are the most fortunate people in the universe.
Na realidade, as pessoas que realizam o serviço devocional às margens do Radha Kunda são as mais afortunadas do universo.
Let's just look at this purport a minute. We'll jump over the first section of giving different stages, you could say, of elevated stages of devotional service and devotees and so on. We'll go to the points related to Radha Kunda. Discusses the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, the neophyte devotees. And let's see where we are here. To the jnanis. The jnanis. Jnanis are those who understand, theoretically at least, the spiritual truth, but they may not have realized it fully, but at least they understand we're not the body.
Gyanis são alguém que podem não compreender, realizar a verdade, mas eles compreendem teoricamente, pelo menos.
Okay, I'm going to take it up here, and this is quite a long way down the purport. I don't know how far, but it's a fairly long way down. You may not be able to find it, but it's a long way down. It starts after taking to devotional service under the regulative principles. And there's not really any particular reference point there.
Okay, after devotional service under regulative principles.
Yeah, a person may come to the platform of spontaneous love of God, following in the footsteps of great devotees like Narada and Sanaka and Sanatan.
Após adotar o serviço devocional sob os princípios reguladores, pode ser que alguém chegue ao estágio de amor espontâneo por Deus, seguindo os passos de grandes devotos como Narada, Sanaka, Sanatana.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead then recognizes him to be superior. The devotees who have developed love of Godhead are certainly in an exalted position.
Então a Suprema Personalidade de Deus o reconhece como superior. Sem dúvida, os devotos que desenvolvem amor por Deus se encontram em posição de destaque.
I'm going to jump over this a little bit because this is very long. Move forward. So the gopis are the most superior, and Radharani is the most superior of the gopis.
Os gopis são as mais elevadas e a Srimati Radharani é a mais elevada de todas.
And we're going to move to the next paragraph, beginning with, in this way, Srila Rupa Goswami. You got it?
Yes.
In this way, Srila Rupa Goswami gradually concludes that Srimati Radharani is the most exalted devotee of Krishna, and that her Kund lake, Shri Radha Kund, is the most exalted place.
Dessa maneira, palmo a palmo, Srila Rupa Goswami conclui que Srimati Radharani é a devota mais elevada de Krishna, que o seu Kunda lago, Shri Radha Kunda, é o lugar mais elevado.
This is verified by a verse from the Padma Purana, as quoted in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Uttrakund 45 and Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Isto é confirmado numa citação do Laghu Bhagavatamrita, que foi citado no Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yata Radha Priya Vishnus Tasya Kundam Priyam Tatam Sarvagopishu Saiveka Vishnu Rajanta Balava. Just as Srimati Radharani is dear to the Supreme Lord Krishna, so her bathing place is equally dear to Lord Krishna. Among all the gopis, she alone stands supreme as the Lord's most beloved.
Assim como Srimati Radharani é querida pelo Supremo Senhor Krishna, da mesma forma o lugar onde ela se banha, Radha Kunda, é igualmente querido por Krishna. Entre todas as gopis, ela sozinha goza da posição suprema e a mais querida do Senhor.
Therefore, everyone interested in Krishna consciousness should ultimately take shelter of Radha Kunda, ultimately take shelter of Radha Kunda and execute devotional service there throughout one's life. This is the conclusion of Rupa Goswami in the 10th verse of Upadeshamrita.
Portanto, todos os interessados em consciência de Krishna devem, por fim, refugiar-se no Radha Kunda e ali executar serviço devocional por toda a vida. Esta é a conclusão da Rupa Goswami no 10º verso do Upadeshamrita.
We're going to text number 11, the final verse.
Vamos para o último verso.
And just the translation. Of the many objects of favour, delight, and of all the lovable damsels of Rajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love, and in every respect her divine Kund is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly Radha Kunda is very rarely attained, even by the great devotees. Therefore it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. If one simply bathes once within the holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused.
Dos muitos objetos de deleite favorito de todos os adoráveis, donzelas de Brajagopi, Srimati Radharani é, indubitavelmente, o mais precioso objeto amado de Krishna. De sob todos os aspectos, o seu Kunda divino é descrito por grandes sábios como semelhantemente querido para ele. Sem dúvida, mesmo para grandes devotos, é muito raro alcançar o Radha Kunda. Portanto, é ainda mais difícil que os devotos comuns o alcancem. Se alguém se banha uma só vez nessas águas santas, seu amor puro por Krishna desperta plenamente.
So we can note in this particular verse how even great devotees find it difficult to attain Radha Kunda.
Nós podemos ver neste verso como mesmo devotos elevados acham difícil obter Radha Kunda.
So what to speak of ordinary devotees?
Falar de devotos comuns.
If one simply bathes once, what does it mean, once, bathe? It's like chanting the holy names. Just by chanting the holy name once, one can attain the highest perfection of love of God.
O que significa aqui banhar-se apenas uma só vez? Não é a mesma coisa que dizer só cantar uma vez o nome de...
But there's a qualification to this statement.
É uma qualificação.
It's not a physical activity.
Não é uma ação física.
It's a state of consciousness.
É estado de consciência.
Just like when we chant the holy name. It's a state of consciousness. It's a relationship.
É como quando estamos no santo nome. É estado de consciência, é uma relação.
And as they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. So Krishna will reciprocate, but it won't be on the platform of the same experience of the pure devotees of the Lord.
Então, o Krishna reciproca, mas será uma plataforma diferente
The thread here is, whether it's chanting the holy name or bathing in Radha Kund, is that we follow the process given by those pure devotees.
Então, o que acontece é nós seguimos o processo dado por estes devotos puros.
We don't imitate. We don't imitate. We follow. They may do like that, but we follow their instructions how to do like that.
Eles podem fazer, mas nós não o fazemos. Nós seguimos as suas instruções.
Otherwise, we can risk the great risk of committing a big offense. And I'll read see where we go in the purport. Yeah. Why is Radha Kund so exalted? The lake is so exalted because it belongs to Srimati Radharani, who is the most beloved object of Sri Krishna.
Por que Radha Kunda é tão elevada? Porque pertence a Srimati Radharani, que é o objeto mais amado de Sri Krishna.
Among all the gopis, she is the most beloved. Similarly, her lake, Shri Radha Kund, is also described by great sages as a lake that is as dear to Krishna as Radha herself.
Entre todas as gopis, ela é mais querida. De forma semelhante, os grandes sábios descrevem o seu lago, Shri Radha Kund, é tão querido por Krishna quanto a própria Radha.
Indeed, Krishna's love for Radha Kund and for Srimati Radharani is the same in all respects. Radha Kund is very rarely attained, even by great personalities fully engaged in devotional service, not to speak of ordinary devotees who are only engaged in the practice of Vaidhi Bhakti.
É verdade, o amor de Krishna pela Radha Kunda e seu amor por Srimati Radharani é o mesmo sobre todos os aspectos. Mesmo no caso de grandes personalidades plenamente ocupadas em serviço devocional, é muito raro que alcancem o Radha Kunda. Para não falar de devotos comuns, que só estão ocupados na prática de Vaidhi Bhakti.
So we can understand there's a little bit more to it than meets the eye, so to speak.
Compreender que há algo mais do que nós conseguimos perceber.
Those devotees who are still practicing Vaidhi Bhakti really are not eligible to bathe in Radha Kunda.
Aqueles devotos que estão a praticar Vaidhi Bhakti não estão elegíveis para se banhar em Radha Kunda.
It is stated that a devotee will at once develop pure love of Krishna in the wake of the gopis if he once take a bath in Radha Kunda.
Afirma-se que o devoto que se banha uma vez só no Radha Kunda desenvolve imediatamente amor puro por Krishna, do mesmo modo que os gopis.
Srila Rupa Goswami recommends that even if one cannot live permanently on the banks of Radha Kunda, he should at least take a bath in the lake as many times as possible.
Srila Rupa Goswami recomenda que, mesmo que não se possa viver permanentemente às margens do Radha Kunda, deve-se ao menos tomar banho no lago quantas vezes for possível.
This is a most important item in the execution of devotional service.
Este é item muito importante na realização do serviço devocional.
Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in this connection that Sri Radha Kunda is the most select place for those interested in advancing their devotional service in the wake of the lady friends, the Sakhis, and confidential serving maids, the Manjaras of Srimati Radharani.
Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur escreve a este respeito que Sri Radha Kunda é o lugar mais seleto para as pessoas interessadas em aprimorar seu serviço devocional, seguindo o exemplo das amigas e servas íntimas de Srimati Radharani.
Living entities who are eager to return home to the transcendental kingdom of God, Goloka Vrindavan, by means of attaining their spiritual bodies, Siddhadeha, should live at Radha Kunda, take shelter of the confidential serving maids of Sri Radha, and under their direction engage constantly in her service.
As entidades vivas que estão ávidas por regressar ao lar, ao reino transcendental de Deus, Goloka Vrindavana, por meio da consecução dos seus corpos espirituais, devem viver no Radha Kunda, refugiar-se nas servas íntimas de Sri Radha e, sob a orientação delas, dedicar-se constantemente a servi-la.
This is the most exalted method for those engaged in devotional service under the protection of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Para aqueles que estão ocupados em serviço devocional sob a proteção de Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, este é o método mais elevado.
In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes that even great sages and great devotees like Narada and Sanaka do not get an opportunity to come to Radha Kunda to take their baths.
A este respeito, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur escreve que mesmo grandes sábios e devotos como Narada e Sanaka não têm a oportunidade de vir tomar seus banhos no Radha Kunda.
What then to speak of ordinary devotees? If by great fortune one gets an opportunity to come to Radha Kunda and bathe even once, he can develop his transcendental love of Krishna, exactly as the gopis did.
Isto para não falar de devotos comuns. Se por grande fortuna alguém tem a chance de vir ao Radha Kunda e banhar-se ali pelo menos uma vez, ele pode desenvolver o seu amor transcendental por Krishna, exatamente como os gopis fizeram.
It is also recommended that one should live on the banks of Radha Kunda and should be absorbed in the loving service of the Lord.
Recomenda-se também que se viva às margens de Radha Kunda, absorto no serviço amoroso ao Senhor.
One should bathe there regularly and give up all material conceptions, taking shelter of Sri Radha and her assistant gopis.
Banhar-se ali regularmente e abandonar todas as concepções materiais, abrigando-se em Sri Radha e nas gopis.
If one is thus constantly engaged during his lifetime, after giving up the body, he will return back to Godhead to serve Sri Radha in the same way as he contemplated during his life on the banks of Radha Kunda.
Se alguém se ocupar assim constantemente durante a sua vida, após abandonar o corpo, regressará ao Supremo para servir Sri Radha da mesma maneira na qual meditou durante sua vida enquanto esteve às margens de Radha Kunda.
The conclusion is that to live on the banks of the Radha Kunda and to bathe there daily constitute the highest perfection of devotional service.
Concluindo, viver às margens de Radha Kunda e banhar-se ali diariamente constitui a perfeição máxima do serviço devocional.
It is a difficult position to attain, even for the great sages and devotees like Narada.
É uma posição difícil de ser alcançada mesmo para grandes sábios e devotos como Narada.
Thus, there is no limit to the glory of Sri Radha Kunda. By serving Radha Kunda, one can get an opportunity, an assistant of Srimati Radharani, under the gopis.
Portanto, a glória de Sri Radha Kunda não tem limite. Servindo ao Radha Kunda, podemos ter a oportunidade de nos tornar assistentes de Srimati Radharani, sob a orientação interna dos gopis.
And that's the end of the purport to the last verse of this little book.
É o final do significado deste verso, deste livro.
And you could say mention some things, but this afternoon, Krishna willing, we'll go into the more practical aspect and the reality of what it means to bathe in Radha Kunda.
Krishna permitindo, logo à tarde iremos entrar em pormenores sobre os aspectos de se banhar. Especially outlined by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, who talks a fair bit about bathing in Radha Kunda. Especialmente enfatizando o que Srila Bhaktisiddhanta escreveu sobre. And the essential meaning of residing at Radha Kunda, bathing in Radha Kunda, and so on and so forth. What one's attitude should be if one has the chance to at least on the surface associate with Radha Kunda. Elsewhere it states here that one should reside there under the direction of a eternal associate of the Lord and perform one's bhajan there, what that means also. Okay, so we'll finish there for this morning. Shri Shri Radha Kunda ki jai, Shri Baulashtami ki jai, jai, Shri Snanadan, I never heard that term before, Shri Snanadan ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Rather esoteric, you could say, subject matter, but is important for devotees to have a broader understanding of what it means, and a relevant one to our situation. Okay? Yes.
Now we're going to bathe in a bowl of porridge. Maybe.